Hello, welcome to the lecture 8, the second lecture of the third week of game theory. We were talking about the prisoner's dilemma. Uh, I believe many of you already knew prisoner's dilemma, but haven't known the fact that the result of prisoner's dilemma, we game theorists would call that the dominant equilibrium. Anyway, the dominant equilibrium result of prisoner's dilemma, as I said, has a tragic characteristics. In terminology, economics terminology, it's not Pareto optimal. And even though game theory, a long time before game theory was born, people were talking about that. And the name for that is tragedy of the commons. Uh, Basically, the story goes like this. There is a meadow owned by a village. So if you are a member of the village, you can put your sheep and goat and cow on the meadow because it's owned by everyone. But then what happened is people put so many cattle on there, in a very short time, the meadow disappeared. So, as a result, the people must have been happy that, oh my, I have a cow and I don't spend any money. The cow goes to the publicly owned village meadow and eat it. But after several couple of years, the meadow is gone by overgrazing because so many cows eating there, sheep eating there. So the meadow has no chance of coming back next year. Then what happened? The all cattle would starve to death. So it's a warning against the overuse of commonly owned thing. The medical insurance is that too. The medical insurance, I made an example, this MRI and X-ray, but there are so many other things. We can have a baby born naturally, but that's painful. So you have operation. Sometimes operation is necessary because the mother cannot have naturally birth a baby, give a birth to a baby. But sometimes because they want to avoid the pain, they may do it. How do I know? I'm not expert, but there's a suspicion like that. So always there are some aspect that the medical insurance, because of medical insurance, they feel like, oh, it's not my money. So whatever I do, the country and the government and the medical insurance fund would pay. So I have no reason to be stingy about medical cost. That caused a big problem. The young people like you, I think when you come to my age, like 50, 30 years from now, you'd realize this simple example of medical insurance and dominant equilibrium principle dilemma would really doom your life because people are getting older, the medical insurance getting skyrocketed. When you come to my age, like I would be like at the time 80 years old, 80 something years old, and I would demand a lot of medical cost, and you have to pay for the old Professor Hans medical cost. But then your number must have shrink. So now we have more young people than old people, but in 30 years there are more older people than young people, but the young people still support them, kind of thing. In addition to that, that because of this tragedy of common, they overuse the medical fund, so medical fund would be depleted. Okay, that would be a big problem. If you took my law and economics course, you know that I talked about rhinoceros and elephant. Rhinoceros and elephant are the strong animals. Nobody in the nature can easily kill rhinoceros and elephant. Maybe except for people, but even for people. Okay, but then think about the sheep. Sheep is very lamb or sheep, they are very, very small and weak animals. But then nobody ever heard about that sheep or lamb are on the verge of extinct. But rhinoceros and elephant are almost gone. They're on the verge of extinct. Why? The sheep and lamb has an owner. If you kick a sheep or lamb, then the owner comes in and yell at you. Rhinoceros, elephant, if you ever kick them or kill them, nobody comes because they are wild animals. So the tragedy of common has another meaning that if the ownership doesn't exist, then it would be extinct because owned by everyone means everyone would overuse it and get rid of it. Same thing for overfishing. You know, there are so many fish in old days. I mean, in Korea there was like 명태, like it was so common. I don't know whether you heard about minnow. When I was young, minnow was so common, it's all gone. Now it's so expensive. 명태, not anymore available in Korea. We import everything 100% from Russia. What about minnow? It's very expensive. You have to pay a lot of money. When I was young, like it was like very cheap fish, but now it's very, very, very expensive because overfishing. I mean, the Europeans and Americans too. There were a lot of cod in Korea, Daegu, in American seashores. But then, because of overfishing, they are all gone. The cod is so rare in American sea, and it's all because of overfishing. And that is also tragedy of common, the Prinos dilemma. If they catch the fisher one, fisher two players, they can catch only big fish or every small fish, including the big fish. If they catch only big fish, the small fish can grow next year and they can catch later and later. So if you catch only big fish, then your like lifelong profit, let's say is 20. If you catch all fish, maybe this year you're very profitable, but from next year, all the fishes are gone. So you would just have a one good year and then nothing after that. So big fish only in the long term is better than the 2020 is better than every little fish 10-10. The problem is fisherman one just got a big fish as promised. Fisherman two get all fish. Then the fisherman two would get a huge profit, but somehow the little fish survive because fisherman one only get the big fish. So fisherman one would get a very small, like 5 profit. The fisherman two, who catch every small one, but then because thanks to fisherman one, he can continue fishing, would have a bigger profit. So what would be the equilibrium? What would be the result? What is your expectation? Because from fisherman one's point of view, 30 is bigger than 20, our fish is better. 10 is bigger than 5, our fish is better. So fisherman 1 and fisherman 2, they end up fishing our fish, meaning even the small baby fish. So overfishing is not a result of stupid fishermen's behavior. The fishermen are smart, but even the smart people cannot get a good solution, the Pareto optimal solution 2020, they end up getting 10-10. Okay? So this tragedy of common, the Prinos dilemma, interests a lot of scholars because it explains overfishing, it explains the medical insurance crisis. Okay? Once again, as I said, why smart humans cannot stop hurting themselves. Okay, why smart humans hurt themselves without cannot. Okay, so if you solve this Prisoner's Dilemma tragedy of common thing, then you may get a Nobel Prize. But then, this tragic result is dominant equilibrium. Everybody agree that. So the prediction is that the tragedy would be keep happening, and it is very difficult to overturn it to something else, because that is the prediction of everybody. Okay, let's do something else. This is what we did the first week. This game, Tom and Bill, up, middle, down, left, center, right, and the numbers are same. At that time, I pointed out the result would be middle and left. Tom, the player Tom and Bill, Tom has a strategy up, middle, down. Bill has just left, center, right. If you misunderstood this until now, Tom's strategy doesn't have to be same as Bill's strategy. And Tom would ultimately choose middle, Bill would choose left. So the equilibrium would be middle and left. Let's see why. And the reason is iterated deletion of dominated strategy. We will come back to this name after look at the game. Okay? Okay, something changed, the center. As I said, the center, the build strategy center is dominated by left. Why? Tom choose up, 3 is bigger than 2, so left is better than center. Middle, 2. This number doesn't have, okay. I think this number should be 1. Sorry on that. So 2 and 0. So the number from left is bigger than center. So center is dominated by left. Okay. Then what happened? Once Tom realized, okay, let's go back. Once Tom realized Bill would never choose center, either left or right. Once again, here, left is not dominated by right, right is not dominated by left, because 4 is bigger than 3, 2 is bigger than 0. Okay? But then, if you look at the Tom's strategy, up gives either 2 or 3, middle gives 3 and 4. So, up is dominated by middle. So, Tom will never play up. Here, we are assuming Tom and Bill are very, very brilliant, smart person. So, when Bill choose not to choose center, Tom can guess that. And guessing that, Tom would not choose up. Bill can guess that. Bill would say, oh, I will never choose center. Tom would know, so Tom would never choose up. Because of that, I will not choose right. Because this 3 and 4, the second number, 4 and 3 will never happen because up would never be chosen. It's either 2, 0, 2, 1. So left is better than right. So after 2 steps, Bill's right is dominated by Bill's left. So right would not be chosen. So Bill would choose left. Tom already give up, middle or down. Middle gives Tom 3, down gives 2. That's why Tom would choose middle. Okay? Go back to the name. Iterated deletion. Okay, change this 2 to 2 1. Okay, that is a mistake. Iterated deletion of dominated strategy. Do you know iterated? It means repeated. Deletion is erasing. Like repeatedly erasing. That makes sense, each word. But then once again, like equilibrium instead of prediction, we want to look learned. We want to look smart. So that's why we use these difficult words. Iterated deletion, repeatedly erasing of dominated strategy. So here, center dominated strategy erased, then up would be erased, then right would be erased, down would be erased. So one by one, they erase or delete the dominated strategy, and that's how you get the equilibrium. Okay, one thing is that this is not exactly correct. Iterated deletion of dominated strategy. a equilibrium owned by this process is not exactly the dominant equilibrium. However, economists, game theorists regard this equilibrium same as dominant strategy because they are identical in all characteristics. Okay, what kind of characteristics I'm going to explain later. But so it is perfectly okay that you regard dominant equilibrium and equilibrium owned by iterated deletion of dominated strategy as same. What about weakly dominated? Weakly dominated, if you look at here, Tom can choose on middle down, Bill can choose left and center, and then 5 is bigger than 2, 4 is bigger than 2, so Bill doesn't have any dominated strategy. What about Tom? 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Or 2, 1, 3, 3. So here, if you compare up and down, 2 are same and 2 is smaller than 3. So if you compare Tom's strategy down with up, down gives Tom a better payoff 3 than 2 when Bill choose center, but when Bill choose left, they are same. So down is kind of better because down is bigger than or equal to up. But then we use the dominance. When we use up is dominated by down, all numbers should be bigger. The down's number should be bigger all the time. But here, they are sometimes same, sometimes bigger. That's when we use the word weakly dominated. So up is weakly dominated by down because there are one tie here. Okay, then what happened? So if you accept the weakly dominated, up would not be played. So Tom has either middle or down. Now, Bill has a choice. Because up is erased, it's either middle or down, and from Bill's point of view, second number 4 is bigger than 2, 1 are same. What would Bill choose? By weakly the center is weakly dominated by left, so Bill would never choose center, and he will choose left. Once Bill chooses left, Tom is smart enough to foresee all this, and middle would give him 1, and down would give him 2, so Tom will choose down, Bill will choose left. So down and left would be the equilibrium owned by weakly iterated deletion of weakly dominated strategies. Too fast? Okay, you can listen it again. What about this one? Why did I put a color in here? Let's go back to the first stage. Up is weakly dominated by down, but at the same time, middle is also weakly dominated by down. Why? 3 are same, but 1 is smaller than 2. So instead of getting rid of up, because middle is also weakly dominated by down, we can get rid of middle. Once middle is erased, from Bill's point of view, 5 is bigger than 2, 1 is same as 1. So this time, Bill will not choose left. Left would be deleted. So because left is weakly dominated by center, when Tom give up middle. Then Bill choose center. From Tom's point of view, 2 and 3, Tom would prefer 3, so down. So down and center would be the equilibrium owned by iterate deletion of weakly dominated strategy. So what we can see is at least there are 2 equilibrium owned by erasing weakly dominated strategies. If you remember, until now, there was only 1. If you look at this game, okay, once again, this is 1. If you look at this game, there's only 1, this middle left equilibrium. When we apply just normal dominated strategy thing, as soon as we allow weakly dominance, then there we have two strategies, two equilibria. So we already have differences. So in conclusion, dominant equilibrium and iterate deletion of dominated strategy are same thing, but iterate deletion of weakly dominated strategy, it's just something else. So we cannot regard them same. Okay, we are about to finish the dominant equilibrium. Strictly, I said. When I say dominant, it's not weakly dominant, strictly dominant. This has several characteristics. One of the best strategies, uniqueness. When you have dominant equilibrium, always there is only one equilibrium exists. Let's say you go to the fortune teller and ask, okay, where can I get a job? And the fortune teller says, oh, you can get a job at Samsung Electronics. Very good. Then you don't have to apply anywhere else. Just apply Samsung and you will be relaxed. However, in Korea, many cases, the fortune teller says, you will get a job in a company starts with S. S? There are so many S's. SK, Samsung, Samho, Samyang, there are so many S companies in Korea. So of course, you realize if that fortune teller is correct, you will never get a job at Hyundai, you will never get a job at LG, but there are so many S's. Where should I go? Kind of thing. But then, dominant equilibrium school of fortune tellers, they give you one answer. Samsung Electronics, Hyundai Automobile. You will get a job there. And more than that, it's accurate. I'm confessing, like fortune tellers who usually give you the wrong fortune telling, they make many mistakes. They say, to my mom, when I was a high school student, my mom went to the fortune teller, can my son enter university? And they say, no, your son cannot enter university. Something like that. Especially not Seoul National University, things like that. But I did. So, kind of. But, in retrospect, my mom said, the fortune teller says, your son fits more to Yonsei than Seoul National. And then, even though I entered Seoul National, I became a professor at Yonsei, so maybe she was right. But anyway, the fortune tellers are not accurate. Why am I emphasizing this? The game theorists, economists, we make predictions, and it's not correct 100% at all. Like, our probability of getting it correct is a little bit higher than the normal people. For example, if the economists say the stock price will go up, and if the normal people, it's go up 50%, go down, it's 50-50. When economists say it will go up, it's more like 60-40. So 60% chance, a little bit better than the normal people, but still many times we are wrong. Like 40% of time, our prediction is wrong against normal people's 50% of time. Okay, something like that. But anyway, dominant equilibrium is like almost 99%. I mean, are you gonna bring gun to the fight or not? They will bring gun 99% time. Of course, sometimes they forgot, but then their intention is always bringing. So dominant equilibrium is very good. It gives you just one answer, Samsung Electronics, not S company, and they're accurately correct. So the prediction almost always realizes. So why do we need other schools of fortune telling in game theory? There's one shortcoming. In most of games, the dominant equilibrium does not exist. So dominant equilibrium is like fortune teller who just look at the stars and give you the fortune. The thing is, your country is very cloudy. You can, out of 365 days, you can watch stars only 30 days. So, like 1 month every year. Like 11th month of the year, when you ask the fortune teller, dominant equilibrium school of fortune teller said, sorry, we cannot see the sky. Sorry, this game does not have dominant equilibrium, so I cannot tell you anything. Okay? So, dominant equilibrium exists. If it exists, it's really good. You don't have to worry about it. It will happen and it's unique. But then, in many times, actually 99% of time, dominant equilibrium does not exist. If you enter game theory area and look at some game, the chance of that game has dominant equilibrium is less than 1%. So, dominant equilibrium is, if it exists, it's really good, but most time does not exist. So, we are talking about fortune telling school says whenever it says something, it's correct. But most of the time, I don't know. I'm not in a good condition to tell you. I cannot see the star, something like that. So, when the game theorists first think about dominant equilibrium, they're excited, but they soon realize they cannot make a field good persuasion to the normal people that, oh, game theorists can make a prediction. How can you say that 99% time you cannot even make a prediction, whether it's a correct prediction or a wrong prediction? So, who's coming? The Nash. Okay, so we are going to do that in the next class. See you soon.